I'm not gonna lie to you all, 2026 has been a rough year for horror movies. We've had some pretty mediocre ones, we've had some bad ones, and we've had some awful ones. So where does Undertone rank? Is this the first fantastic horror movie of the year, or does it follow the trend that 2026 has been so far? Let's talk about it. So Undertone is the new A24 horror movie. It follows a podcaster named Evie and her co-host Justin. They have a podcast called Undertone where they try to debunk audio files of paranormal stuff that's happening. Well, they get an email from an anonymous source and they have 10 audio files to go through, with each one getting worse and worse. And while they listen to that, worse and worse things start to happen to Evie. Now that setup for this movie works fantastic for the pacing, because you know that you have 10 files to go through and each one gets worse and worse, and you see that as the movie goes on. So it builds this tension, this anticipation for you while watching the movie, and that's just knowing the audio files are coming. That doesn't have anything to do with anything else that's going on. So the audio files and the anticipation of each one makes this movie fly by, because you are just wanting to hear what happens next. And it's funny because this movie isn't about the visuals. It's not about what they show you on screen. It's all about the audio. It's all about the sounds that you hear that really make no sense in the context of what you're watching, which makes it even more creepy and unsettling. Like, the whole tagline for this movie is the scariest movie you'll ever hear. And I kind of agree with that. And I'm really glad they went that route with this movie of focusing on the audio, because the fact that we're listening to a podcaster, something that we all do, we all listen to podcasts. It's like the biggest thing in the world right now. We all put our headphones on and listen. Granted, we're not listening to the stuff that they're listening to usually, but still, it's very relatable, which makes it a little bit more scary. And when you put on headphones and you're listening to something, you aren't as aware as what's going around you, right? You're kind of cut off. Your senses are kind of cut off. And they really zone in on that in this movie. She puts on the noise canceling headphones, and the stuff that you're hearing on the audio files that she's listening to make it so much worse. And then she takes it off and you kind of hear that like suction of like going back from all this crazy stuff you're listening to just complete silence. It's very unnerving in a way that I never thought that it would be. Now, Evie is played by Nina Kiri, and she is really the only character that you really see, the only character that really has anything to do in this movie, because she is the focal point, and she's in this house by herself. She has her mom who she's taking care of, who's sick, which is a whole other scary part of the whole movie, but she is who we're attached to, okay? And the movie's set in the house, and that's it. You're only in a few rooms of the house the entire movie. You're following Evie, which makes it feel like you're in the house with her. You know what I mean? Like you are trapped. You are isolated in this house, listening to these audio files, hearing and seeing all this crazy stuff that's going on, which makes it even more disorienting and very ominous and very creepy. Like, everything works together in this movie where the audio is scary and the stuff you're hearing doesn't make sense. Some of the stuff that you see in the background doesn't make sense. Doesn't feel right. And then you're trapped in the house with Evie. So you have a little bit of a cabin fever kind of feel to it. So all these different things that can be scary to someone, that can be unnerving to someone, come together in a complete package in Undertone. And I think the biggest thing that I loved about Undertone is the less is more approach. You hear stuff, you see a little bit of stuff, but nothing crazy. And at the end of it, you look back on it, and if you actually dissect the movie of what you visually actually see, you don't really see a lot. And that's gonna turn a lot of people off to this movie, but I think it works so much better. I think it's way scarier the way that they do it, of showing us very little and making us hear a lot more. That is such a weird change of, the actual formula of what a horror movie is. And I think they do it so well in this. And I wish that more movies took this risk. I remember watching The Nun 2, and Valak is scary. Okay, like, Valak is terrifying. The Nun is scary to look at. But when they make Valak this huge CGI monster thing and they show too much of it, it loses what makes it scary. The more you see of this whatever it might be, the less scary it becomes, because you can become accustomed to it. In this, they don't give you that option. And that makes it 10 times more scary. And a little fun fact for everyone that's actually seen Undertone, the director of this movie, Ian Tuason, is going to direct the next Paranormal Activity. So if you like this movie, you have that to look forward to. And after watching this, y'all ain't ready for that. One of the things that really shocked me about Undertone is the places that it goes, because it goes to very dark, very upsetting places that's gonna rub some people the wrong way. I mean, I had 4 people walk out of my theater before we even got to the crazy, crazy parts of the movie. So that's something that I was really shocked by. I think it's bold. I think it's very coming out of left field, not something I was expecting for a movie about paranormal stuff. But that was a shocking thing that added to the terror, added to the thing that's gonna get under your skin and like stay with you after the movie's over. So there's so much to this movie that just sticks with you after it. Obviously the audio and the things that you hear, but it's the way that you hear them. It's the way that things led up to that point. It's the little subtle things that you see in the background, or maybe it's the stuff that you think you see in the background, because that's another thing that happens in this movie where you're sitting so long looking at Evie, but there's a dark hallway in the back. And your mind wants to see something because you're lingering there so long that you're building up this anticipation where you have to see something, so your mind starts to play tricks on you. And that's another thing that this movie does so well. I'm telling you, everything that this movie does makes you uncomfortable, makes you you don't know how to react to it. And it blows my mind how crazy this package came together. So if you couldn't tell by now, Undertone is absolutely the best horror movie of the year so far. There's no question about that as far as I'm concerned. It's actually my favorite movie of the year so far as well. We'll see when that changes, if that actually changes, but this is a movie I'm gonna recommend to everybody to check out. It is gonna be rough to get through. It's terrifying, it's scary, and having said that, I feel like some people are gonna push back on that and say it's not that scary. Look, that's fine. But for me, in a genre of horror, possession, demonic, whatever you want to call it, that's run stale. Undertone was able to come through and do something completely different, completely unique, and I love this movie for that. It made this thing that grew stale for me for a number of reasons and made it scary again. And not only scary, it sticks with you. And I feel like that's the whole goal of a horror movie. So yeah, I'm gonna recommend this movie to anybody that loves horror, who wants to dabble in horror. Now, it is gonna be very intense for some people, but that's the point. Horror movies are supposed to be scary, and this movie, to me, checked every box to make a movie scary. But what did you all think of Undertone? Was it scary for you, or did you leave the theater just kind of like, yeah, that was not what I expected, that's not what I wanted? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you again for watching my review, and I will catch you in the next one.